Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on with my Brewdog catch-up that I've been filming for you while I'm here at home in Scotland, and we're going to do the second instalment from the IPA is Dead 2015 series tonight. IPA is Dead, of course, is the 4-packs that Brewdog release every year, the same malt base, and they just change the hops in this. They're single hop IPAs, and the whole point is to teach the beer drinker about the different hops that they like to use in their beer. So the one we're going to have a look at tonight is the Pioneer. The one I reviewed for you a few days ago was Chinook, and the other two in the series are Ellon and Mandarina Bavaria, but unfortunately I can't review Mandarina Bavaria because the bottle's smashed, so that's just the way of life sometimes. So I hope you enjoy the 3 reviews from this one nonetheless, and a big thank you to Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews for providing these beers for me. I was struggling to get them in Scotland, but he brought them up when he came to visit Scotland a few months ago. So a big thank you to Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews, and check out the link to his page in the Facebook description below. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Brewdog reviews. There's about 70 or so of those now, so do check them out if you're particularly interested in Brewdog beer. And there's all the usual social media, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd, so please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and don't hesitate to get in touch and suggest some other beers for me. It's always interesting to try the ones that you guys are recommending. There's been some really cool recommendations come through so far, so keep them coming. But anyway, to tell you quickly about Brewdog again. So Brewdog is the love child of James Watt and Martin Dickey, 2 guys from Aberdeen, and they were founded in 2007 at a small brewery in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast corner of Scotland, right on the tip of the monster's nose, as I always like to say. But more recently they've moved their main brewing operations to their new, very shiny and purpose-built facility in Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen where I used to study, and they're actually looking to open up a second brewery over in Columbus, Ohio, in America, of course. So some interesting things for Brewdog coming. But knowing these guys are known for being a very sort of experimental brewery. Their trademark styles, they say, are the pale ales, IPAs and double IPAs. Personally, I think Brewdog really shine when it comes to the higher ABV beers. They're also very good at sweet stouts and imperial stouts as well, in my opinion. But they were also known for a period of time for their strong beers too. They held the title of World's Strongest Beer on 3 separate occasions: the Tactical Nuclear Penguin, Sink the Bismarck and also the End of History. But overall, these guys are largely inspired by the American craft brewing renaissance, and one of the biggest influences on Brewdog beer is Stone Brewing Company. And if you try the Stone beers and then try some of the IPAs from Brewdog, you can really feel that influence coming through on them. But they've got several brew pubs throughout the UK these days. These began opening, I think, back in 2010 it was, with their home bar in Aberdeen. I was there on the first night and it was pretty fun actually. But these bars are spread all over the place now, all throughout the UK. There's ones all over the world now. There's one in Japan, there's a couple in Finland, in Sweden, in Norway as well, Italy, France, Belgium, and there's one down in Brazil as well. So there's a lot of expansion coming from Brewdog and many opportunities for you to drink Brewdog beer. But what's very interesting about Brewdog is their business model. They have their Equity for Punk scheme, which is where fans of the brewery like you and I can actually buy into the brewery, just buy shares essentially, and in exchange for that you get a lifetime discount in the bars and the shops, and they use this to fund all their infrastructure developments like the new breweries, the new bars and all of this sort of thing. So really these guys were the world's first crowd-funded brewery, and they've actually just released a book on that. So if those of you watching are interested in business studies, this is a very good company for you to actually look at. But these days Brewdog are the largest independently owned craft brewery in Scotland, and they're still expanding due to this Equity for Punks program. So like I say, a very, very interesting company indeed, and they produce some pretty good beers as well, I have to admit. But IPA is Dead is one of the series that they release every year. It's an annual release of a 4-pack of single hop IPAs, and each hop comes from a different country. Originally they were doing it as each hop coming from a different continent, but I believe this year they've changed it. But the 2015 version features Chinook from America, Ellon from Australia, Mandarina Bavaria, which is a new experimental hop from Germany, and also this guy here, which is the Pioneer from England. So yeah, that's all you need to know about Brewdog for the moment. If you want to read more, go and check out the brewery website in the description below, or check out some of my other videos. But for now we'll get on with the tasting of this one. So just to read a little bit on the side for you, this is a kind of tradition of mine when I do Brewdog beers. We always read the blurb, but it says here, IPA is Dead, Pioneer. We felt it was time that hops went solo and got their own primetime show. IPA is Dead showcases 4 killer hop varieties to create 4 radically different single hop IPAs. Each IPA contains the same malt backbone and is brewed to be 75 IBUs and is enthusiastically kettle hopped and dry hopped with one of our favourite hops. IPA IPA is Dead strips back the complex layers and exposes the heating heart of an IPA, the hops, in all of their transparent glory. Can you say you've ever experienced 100% pure hop awesomeness? IPA is Dead is brewed and bottled to do just that. IPA is Dead, long live IPA. And this one is actually a Norwegian import, which is quite interesting. It tells you a bit about Brewdog on the other side as well. Best before the 18th of March 2016. And this one is actually the first year that Brewdog have done these, and they have the new style labels on them. The other ones from last year, from 2012 and 2013 and 2014, all had the old style labels on them. You can see one of the new Brewdog bottle caps on there, the light grey one on this. But yeah, nicely presented. The new Brewdog labels have grown on me after initially not liking them, but it should be quite an interesting one for us to review. So this one is single hop with Pioneer, as you may have guessed. This is a hop that was that first appeared back in 1996. It was bred at the Horticulture Research International at Y College in England back in 1996, and it's really valued, as I told you at the start of the video, as a late bittering hop. 7.2% single hop IPA, this one, malt base of Maris Otter, Crystal and Caramel, so it should be quite nice. And as I say, this is a hop I've not come across too much, so should be quite interesting. It's supposed to give you some nice tropical fruit and a bit of citrus, and also a little bit of a kind of herbal and piney flavour from this. So this one should be quite interesting. So let's get it out and into the glass then. The other interesting thing to note about this series as well is that the ABV of these beers has varied over the years. I think the 2014 range was 6.7%. I'm sure the first ones I tried, the 2013s, were 7.2%. It may well have been the other way around, right enough, but one of the ones, the series I reviewed for you before, was 6.7, and the other ones have been 7.2. So just note that the ABV of these beers does seem to change a little bit. Maybe they're going to stick with 7.2 from now on. But as you can see, this beer is poured your typical Brewdog IPA colour. There's actually a good little bit of sediment visible in this one. It's been in the fridge for about a day or two, so it shouldn't be too bad, but you can see there's a half finger of a frothy white head on this, a really bright orangey amber colour there. There is a degree of transparency to it, but mainly it's a nice opaque colour. As I said, some little sediment particles floating around, but there's a big bubble, there's a couple of big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there, so it looks very nice. So let's give this guy a smell and see how we get on here. So without sugaring this one up too much, you can really, the first thing that's coming out of this one for me, it's a bit less prominent than the Chinook. The Chinook, of course, was a big piney and grapefruity hop. This one's a bit more subtle. It actually smells quite like a noble hop, and that's one of the things you tend to get from English hops, I find. They're quite earthy and quite a little bit floral and grassy. That's the real kind of typical characteristic. Sometimes a bit herbal as well. But without sugaring this beer up, I'm mainly getting the bready characteristics and the slightly biscuity and caramel things from each of the malts that are in there. There's not much coming from the hops. It's quite grassy and a little bit herbal and earthy. So let's sugar it up and see if we can get a little bit more out of this one. Yeah, really it's kind of sticking to what I was saying there. It's a little bit grassy, it's quite earthy and it's quite herbal. You can get a little bit of fruit coming out of this one, I would say. There maybe is a little bit of citrusy character. Not getting any kind of... really not getting any tropical fruits, which I read is something you should get from the Pioneer hops. There apparently should be a little bit of a tropical fruit ester from this one, but really not getting that out of this one. I looked this hop up because I didn't know too much about it before I came into this video, so I thought it was good to do a bit of research on it. But for me, this actually smells very similar to some of the German noble hops you're going to come across, but the more herbal and earthy character really is what gives it away as being an English hop. It's quite a common hop these days, I think, in some of these more old school English real ale style of beers. Of course, as I've said in other reviews, the English real ale beers really aren't one of my favourite styles. I'm more into your kind of German beers and Germans, Belgians, and the American style beers. That's really where my interests come out. But yeah, it's overall, it smells like it's actually very like a German noble hop, this. You do get a bit more fruit out of it as you sugar it up. Maybe there is a little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of citrus coming out too, but not really that prominent. For me, this one's more of a kind of smooth, earthy character, a bit of floral, some grassy elements in there as well. But overall, really, this one actually smells a bit more malty. As I said, the American hops always come out a little bit more punchy. So when it comes to this series, you want to smell it a little bit, get used to the hop aromas, but now we'll actually get into the tasting of this one. So this is the Brewdog IPA is Dead 2015 range, and we're going to have a taste of the Pioneer tonight. Slàinte. Yeah. The taste is a bit more complex than the aroma would have you believe, actually. But as I said, those aromas that you pick up in it are all there in the taste of this one. This one isn't as flavourful as the American hops, I would say. As I always say, just sugar it around your palate a bit and let the whole mouth adjust to this one before you actually start dissecting it too much. But yeah, there is a bit more floral and grassy character. That pine resin actually starts to come out on it once you get it into the palate. You can feel that just lingering there. But overall, it's quite floral, and there is a bit of kind of herbal character to this one. It's not vegetal in any way at all. It is a nice herbal character, and the herbal flavours are quite subtle for me. The pine resin and the floral aromaticity are the things that are sticking out in this beer. When you actually taste it, you can see it does have more of an American flavour. It's more American than a lot of the English hops that you're going to come across, actually. Like, I remember one of the IPA's Dead ones having Golding's hops, and it was a really quite earthy and lightly grassy hop, I would say. But yeah, the thing you'll notice about this hop as well is how smooth it is in flavour. As I always tell you in these videos, the hoppy characters come out around the edge of your tongue. So in the back corners of the palate, there's maybe just a very, very light earthy character. As you move further forward, it gets more floral and aromatic. The earthiness just sits there at the back of the palate, and as you go round the front curve of the tongue, it's quite smooth and it's quite grassy. And there's a sort of herbal character in there just lingering, but for me the pine resins really are kind of underpinning this beer. It has an interesting, quite piney and almost spicy floral aromaticity to this one. It's quite interesting. Maybe it's not pine resins as such, but it's a really quite spicy floral aromaticity that's just underpinning this one. Nowhere near as spicy, for example, as the Hercules hop that I've tried before. But you can just feel that in the flavour of this one. As I said, the first thing you'll notice about this hop is just how smooth the flavours are. It's quite this one I can see is one that you would add to beers that you don't want to be too punchy. You want them to be a bit more complex, and you really get that from this one. Yeah, I think it's fair to stick by that assessment of this one. So just behind the front curve of the tongue, you'll feel that typical oily bubble that comes out there. There is a little bit of grapefruit in there, and it's quite subtle for me. This one focuses more on the citrusy aspects, but in comparison to other hops, the fruity characters in this beer are really quite subtle. There is a bit of grapefruit, and there is a bit of a more lemony citrus. It's not juicy. It's not a juicy orange citrus in this. It's more of a kind of generic and or slightly lemony citrus in this one, but you can feel those two flavours blending together. But again, it's a very, very nice hop. This is the one, as I said, that you want to add to a beer if you want a bit of complexity. And of course, in the middle of the palate, you're getting these typical bready. You're getting this typical bready blanket that just blankets the middle of the tongue. On top of that, you're getting a bit of biscuity malt. You can feel a little bit of cereal dryness in there and some sweeter caramel as you go down the middle of the tongue. But overall, the Pioneer hop comes across as very smooth, a little bit earthy, some kind of herbal characteristics in there, but a sort of floral aromaticity and pine resiny flavour just underpinning the flavour. There's a bit of smoother grassiness in there, and you can pick up some subtle fruit varieties as well. Like I said, this is a one that I think you would add to a beer where you want some kind of real complexity to it. It's quite interesting just to try these hops and think about them. It's actually one of the better English hops that I've come across, according to my flavour palette at least. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say this is mid-bodied again, soft carbonation, a little bit oily. As I said, it's actually very smooth. There is a little bit of hop bitterness there, But overall for me, this one is a lot smoother than, for example, the Chinook. The Chinook was really quite dry and quite spicy, but this one is a lot more smooth than that. The herbal and the earthy character, of course, see into that. But there is a little bit of sweetness from the malts and just a little bit of dryness coming from the middle of that palate too. But overall, it's another really quite interesting beer from Brewdog. As I said, the whole point of this series is to educate you about the hops, and it's really interesting to try the Pioneer on its own, because it's one of these more subtle hops that you're going to find in the beer. So again, another thumbs up to Brewdog for this one. I always enjoy the IPA's Dead series because it really is interesting to try all these single hop varieties. So yeah, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really interesting to have a look in particular at the Pioneer hop, so I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos. So until my next beer review, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. You can expect the Ellon review to come up very soon. Like I said, unfortunately, I can't review Mandarina Bavaria, which would have been very cool because it's an experimental hop, but unfortunately that's just the way it goes sometimes. But I thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Check out all the links in the description below, and I will catch you soon with the Ellon review, and I hope you enjoy the other ones that are coming up just now. But for the moment, go and check out some Brewdog beers, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.